From the bustling streets of Athens and the historic port of Hydra, to the beaches of Zakynthos and the villages of Kythera, our journey over the coming weeks spans many of the Ionian Islands. Some well known, others that few ever get to visit. But before heading off, you probably want to know a little bit about me. My story starts as a boy growing up in the inner suburbs of Sydney. Like a lot of Greeks early last century, my parents moved overseas to find a better life abroad. They arrived with very little and worked extremely hard to give my sisters and I a loving upbringing. They also made me believe that if I too worked hard enough, I could achieve anything. 54 years later, I've built a successful business, and that has enabled me to do things I once only dreamed of. One of those dreams was to step foot on all 227 inhabited Greek islands, and I'm going to take a big chunk out of that in this first series. So far, my journey has taken me from the chaos of Athens to the ancient city of Epidaurus. It's only a very short distance from the big smoke, but feels like it's a million miles away, and that you've stepped back in time.
Unbelievable. I heard it from here.
There are incredible sights to discover both above and below the water, with fascinating history that tells the story of not only the region, but the origins of important aspects of modern Western civilization. I've also met some fantastic characters, particularly on Mooney Island, where I stopped briefly before heading to Spetses.
To me, Spetses is the cosmopolitan capital of this region. This is a beachside island where people come here just to enjoy themselves, getting out of the heat of Athens in the summer. Have a look around there. It's just awesome, man.
In this episode, I'm going to explore more of Spetses and learn about the most significant female figure in Greece's maritime history, Admiral Bouboulina. She was at the forefront of the War of Independence, and her stories become legend. From here, I'm heading to Hydra, famous for the horses and mules they use for transport on the island. But my plan is to show you there's a whole lot more to the place than the tourist haunts. It's one of those magic islands where you can easily succumb to its beauty and spend weeks, or in some cases, a lifetime lost in its charm. I've timed my visit here so I could see the spectacle that is the Spetses Classic Yacht Regatta. It's been an annual fixture since 2011, and in a short period of time has grown to become one of the most important and popular regattas in the Mediterranean. It was established in the honour of the Spetsiot seafarers who fought in the 1821 Greek War of Independence, and today draws vessels and spectators from across the world. They all converge on this tiny island for a week of events and festivities, all centred around the long-held maritime traditions of Greece. The idea of the regatta came from Andonis Vordonis. He wanted to continue the legacy of the boat builders of Spetses and to shine a light on the island so outsiders would see the place he loves and take the time to travel here. During the 4 days of the regatta, Spetses becomes the yachting centre of the Mediterranean. Well, at least Greece anyway, with classic boats sailing alongside traditional Aegean schooners, lateens and dragons, with the spectacular Argos Saronic Gulf providing the perfect setting. It's a real community fair with people coming together to not only compete, but celebrate their love of sailing. Central to the regatta is the majestic Poseidonion Grand Hotel. It's one of the most famous landmarks on the island and acts as a hub for the event.
As a shipping man for 42 years, I had this wonderful life around the globe, and I was feeling that I was so lucky that by traveling and meeting and trading, I was carrying my country and all we have created here to the world. And for me, it was a great duty, and I felt very happy, saying and proud for what I was doing.
Yes.
Now that I'm here as a hotelier,
Yes.
I feel I'm doing exactly the same job I was doing as a shipping man.
Of course.
Then I was traveling and conveying my country.
Yes.
Now I am welcoming the world on this place.
I think you have a more important job now as a hotelier, as a Spetsioti, as a Greek, especially in these times.
Built in 1914, this elegant hotel is a symbol of the cosmopolitan life of the island. It was built by Sotiris Anargyros, a tobacco merchant, who was also a visionary. He had a dream for the island to become a tourist resort and did much to develop Spetses to make it a holiday destination for elite and wealthy Athenians. Nowadays, people from all walks of life come here. However, the grandeur of the Poseidonion harks back to a time when but a few could afford such indulgences. Tourism here was at its peak in the 60s, but with the arrival of package holidays, visitor numbers dropped significantly to the point where the hotel was abandoned. Today, it has been renovated back to its former glory, and once again it is a living monument to the halcyon days of Spetses. In many ways, the Poseidonion and the regatta are akin. Both have a certain elegance to them and are intrinsic to the island's character. They're symbols of times past, but also of rebirth. The resurrection of the hotel is much like the restoration of the proud shipbuilding industry of Spetses. It's been inspired by the regatta and increased interest in the timber boats that are made here. Having the opportunity to see these magnificent vessels ploughing the sea is something every sailing enthusiast should experience. And over the coming days, I'm really looking forward to the spectacle and tradition of the regatta. There's more to Spetses than its maritime past. Like other Greek islands, it has a unique food culture that's shaped by the people, produce and climate. To learn more about it, I coaxed the Poseidonion's head chef Stamatis out of the kitchen and into the hills to show me the hotel's farm.
Tomatoes. Look at these peppers, they're awesome. Tomatoes. Oh, τι ωραίο.
Ωραίο.
Δεν έχουν δηλητήριο πάνω.
Τίποτα.
Είναι
βιολογικά όλα εδώ είναι βιολογικά.
Everything here hasn't got anything on it. It's all organic. Nothing. Fantastic. I could eat here all day. They could leave me here and I'd eat everything. Τα φάω όλα.
Έχει ντοματίνια, ντομάτες, κολοκύθια, μελιτζάνες, βλήτα, ρόκα, τα πάντα. Είναι όλα βιολογικά.
So they've got everything here. They've got zucchini flower. They've got eggplant. They've got all forms of lettuce. They've got the horta that the Greeks love. They've got small tomatoes. They've got big tomatoes. They've got capsicums. They've got peppers. They've got absolutely everything here. And what's amazing, Stamatis, δεν είναι μόνο για εσάς, τα πουλάτε σε άλλα μαγαζιά. The thing that amazes me here is that not only they produce enough for themselves, which I just can't believe, but they're actually producing for some of the other shops and restaurants around here. It's so good. It's fantastic. Πάμε στις κότες.
Πάμε.
We're going to go somewhere special, man.
Living on a small island, there's a certain amount of self-sustainability that's needed in order to survive. Not only is it costly to get produce from the mainland, but it also takes time to ship things over. So essentially, anything you want fresh needs to be grown locally. It was the way of my father and my father's father for countless generations gone by. People have had to work hard and manage the available land to grow the staples to sustain their communities. Plots like these can be found all over the place, and without them, there's no way the island could support the population and such a thriving tourism industry.
Μόνο ένα αυγό.
Τα έχει πάρει ο Λεωνίδας όλα.
Από το πρωί.
Τα πρωινά,
Ναι. There's only one egg here, and the reason is it's the morning, and Leonida came and picked them up so that the guests can have their eggs for the morning. Beautiful, nice and light. Oh, θα βάλω πίσω. Ωραία. Έλα εδώ. Come here. Come here. It's like my wife running away from me.
It's this simplicity that's the Greece I know and love. The authentic, traditional and rustic elements that hark back to times when things moved much slower and the world was a far wider place. I, for one, love the idea that there's a paddock-to-plate process happening right here on the island. It's nice to know a lot of what I'm eating while spending time here has been grown on the fertile soil on the hillsides and harvested only hours before. Not only is it fresh and healthy, but it means the money is staying in the local economy. Fresh eggs, chickens, turkey. Of all the many seafaring Spetsias that have done great things, there is a particular individual that stands out, and that's Admiral Bouboulina. She fought during the revolution to free Greece and was the world's first female admiral. She was a tough, hard-nosed woman that didn't take no for an answer. To learn more about her story, I met with Philip Bouboulis, who is a direct descendant and also owns her house.
But now we are short of guides right now.
Yes, of course. Philip, you know, every time I think of Spetses, the first thing that comes to mind is Bouboulina.
Well, of course. Spetses is known as the island of Bouboulina. Το νησί της Bouboulinas, the island of Bouboulina. When you talk about Spetses, your thoughts goes to Bouboulina always.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Bouboulina.
Well, Bouboulina, she is one of the most important heroes of the Greek War of Independence. The only woman admiral in the world. She had a fleet of 5-6 ships. She led the fleet against the Turks. She fought mainly at Nafplion in the Battle of Monemvasia, in the Battle of Argos, where she lost her first born son, in the Battle of Tripolis, where she saved the harem of the Turkish ruler there. And she inherited a massive fortune. She was married twice. Both her husbands, very rich captains at the time, that died in battles with the pirates in those days. When she inherited Bouboulis, her second husband, in whose house we are here now, she inherited in cash only 300,000 talara. Talara were silver Spanish sovereigns that we were using at the time. And in order to make you understand what kind of money was that, let me say that when Bouboulina built her flagship, the Agamemnon, which is still considered one of the biggest ships in the War of Independence, that was built here on Spetses, a corvette, a brig. That ship, in order to be completed, it cost Bouboulina 75,000 talara. So you can imagine how much money was the 300,000, plus the fleets, the houses, and everything. So she became a very rich woman indeed.
But she spent all that money in defending and this independence, War of Independence.
Exactly, that's her big sacrifice.
When I think of Bouboulina, I think of that wonderful painting up there that shows Bouboulina, that strong woman in the 1800s when it was a man's world.
Exactly. This is a very famous painting here in Greece. It is most of the school books, magazines where they talk about Bouboulina. The thing about this painting, if you go and have a closer look, you will notice that all the men are scared. They're hiding, they're leaning backwards like they want to avoid something.
Yeah.
You know, their faces, in comparison to the way Bouboulina is standing up, you know, fearless.
Yes.
And by the way, the gun she's holding there on that painting is sitting right behind you.
Oh, wow.
It's there above the safe, yes. That's her own private gun, so we presume it's the one she's holding there.
What a beautiful... that is an...
It's all gold-plated, yes. Let me show you some more of the house, because
thank you.
There are 4 rooms and the history of Bouboulina is through those 4 rooms. So follow me.
Excellent, Philip. Thank you.
The house lay in disrepair for years until it was inherited by Philip. At first he was unsure what to do with it. The place is huge. But as he explored the many rooms and uncovered the artefacts that had been stored away, he soon realised that these were the kinds of things you would find in a museum. So naturally, he did exactly that, so everyone could learn about this most popular heroine. Sadly, and really not befitting the life she led, Bouboulina was killed in a family feud. Her son had eloped with the daughter of the Koutsis family, and when her father, along with several armed family members, confronted Bouboulina about it, she was shot and killed.
Here you can see an old photograph of Spetses taken in the middle of the 1800s. But the interesting thing is to see the thousands of houses already been built. Now don't be surprised, as Spetses in those days, during Bouboulina's times, had a local population of 18,000 people.
So how did Bouboulina, Spetses, the War of Independence, how did it all start here?
Well, there were revolutions before the War of Independence which all failed because there was no navy involved. Without the navy, there was no way we could win. Spetses was or rather Bouboulina, raised her own revolutionary flag on the mainmast of her ship, the Agamemnon, on the 13th of March, 1821, which is the first naval revolutionary flag in our history in that time. So it's all started from here, maybe from that room that we've seen, if you know the whole revolution, the naval part of it. And of course, Bouboulina, she was a leader in the naval battles at the time. She was equal among men, quite a rare thing in those days. As I already mentioned, she gave everything for her country.
At the time of the revolution, it's said that you could walk from one side of the harbour to the other, just by stepping from one ship to the next. The fleet that had formed was a unified front, created by the surrounding islands rallying to the call to revolt, led by Bouboulina. Today, the museum acts as a monument to the proud history of Spetses and the Admiral's family. Philip is a 5th-generation descendant, and when his time as the warden of this legacy ends, he'll pass the mantle to his son Pavlo to carry it forward. Believe it or not, making this show is actually a lot of hard work. Not only for the film crew, but the crew of Miazoi. They spend their days keeping the boat in order, cleaning everything and feeding the guests. So when I was invited for dinner in the grand garden of the Poseidonion, it was only fair that they came too. so we could all enjoy the experience. The food wasn't just your typical Greek cuisine. Along with salads, feta, olive oil, were barbecued sausages, chicken and lamb, all done Stamati's way. Of all the crew, it seemed Kyriak was enjoying it the most. Mind you, there is more than just a hint of jealousy when we eat out. It's like he's a cross between my mother and my wife, only wanting the best for us. God love him. A week in Spetses is never enough. But with so much water to cover in the month or so ahead, we had to make a move, travelling the 40 kilometres or so back to Ύδρα. We bypassed it on the way through so we could make the yacht regatta in time, but there was no way I was going to skip the island altogether. It's way too good to miss. Ύδρα sits in the Aegean Sea just off the Peloponnese between the Saronic and Argolic Gulfs, around 70 kilometres southwest of Athens. About 2,000 people live here, but there's more than twice that number of tourists visiting each day during the peak season. You really don't have to travel far in Greece to find yourself in a place that's completely different to your last port of call. And in the case of Ύδρα, it's even more apparent. From the donkeys walking the streets to the amphitheatre-like harbour with centuries-old homes crowding the hillside, it's a special place that seems trapped in time.
This is Ύδρα, or as the Greeks call it, Ύδρα. And what is special about Ύδρα? There are no buses, no cars, no taxis, no motorbikes, no bicycles. Just donkeys and water taxis. Why is that so? Why is this happening here? We're going to find out. We're going to see what's special about Ύδρα.
The harbour is the place where all the action is. As tourists pour from the ferries onto the foreshore, they stroll along the stone walkway and fill the cafes and taverns. Boats constantly move about the port, adding to the hive of activity on their waterfront. It's a buzz with energy, and as cliché as it might seem, a donkey ride is one of the must-dos on the island. Arriving in Ύδρα, the first thing I wanted to do was meet the mayor. Sounds boring, I know, but I've heard that he was a forward-thinking guy with big ideas, and at 36 years of age, he's one of the youngest mayors in Greece. What I discovered was a man of great passion with vision for the future that maintained Hydra's old world charm, while bringing it into the 21st century.
Yorgo, apart from the obvious, what impresses me about this island is the cleanliness and also the architecture. I feel like I could be walking through Ύδρα 200 years ago right now.
You are absolutely right, because the architect of the island is exactly the same as it was 200 years ago. The houses that you can see, they were in existence 200 years ago. Because according to Greek law, which protects Ύδρα, you are not allowed to build a new house, just to renovate an old one. So it means that everything that was back in place 200 years ago is still around and has been maintained.
Impressive. They're a proud people, the Hydriots.
Absolutely, they are very proud.
Deal with hell.
It's very beautiful. And as you can see, when you get away from the port, Ύδρα is full of steps.
Yes.
Because of its amphitheatrical construction. So this is the reason why it's a car-free island.
Yeah.
And the Greek state wants to maintain that.
The streets are designed to allow a mule and a human to pass. It's been like this for the last 200 years, and I can't see it changing for the next 200.
You know, Yorgo, I've seen the mules lifting bricks, cement, grocery shopping, pedestrians, luggage.
Yes, this is our taxi. If you arrive in Ύδρα, the house you are going to stay or the hotel you are going to stay, it's far away. Instead of calling a taxi, you are calling a mule with his owner to carry your luggage to the place you are going to stay. And sometimes there are adverts on internet if you want to have everything done for you before you arrive in Ύδρα.
So I can get online and get my mule to meet me at the port.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
absolutely, you know.
Unbelievable. That's fantastic.
You know, and Ύδρα, it's a place of very influential people, the birthplace, and also the place where people came here to create. Leonard Cohen arrived on the island in 1960. Sophia Loren was here for the production of the film A Boy on a Dolphin. It was the first Hollywood production all over Greece. And for example, this is the mention of Lazaros Koudouliottis, who was our leader during the Greek War of Independence.
Right.
It's amazing history. This house, you can pay a visit. It works as a museum, and there are a lot of personal elements of Lazarus Kouduriotis.
So anybody can come into this house?
Absolutely, yes.
Fantastic.
You'll learn a little bit more about Lazaros, the former owner of this house, later in this episode. He's the one-eyed guy that was blinded by chickpeas. You'll see what I mean.
Panagiotis, this is a special house of Ύδρα. This is a house of the house of Leonard Cohen. He bought this house in 1960 with $1,500. During the 60s, he made a lot of his work here. He used to party with the local people. He used to go to local taverns. And even one of his poems is dedicated to a local tavern. And if you go to this tavern, on the menu, you will see his poem that has been dedicated to the island. So we are very honored to have Leonard Cohen with us for so many years.
A lot of inspiration here.
A lot of inspiration. You know, he created a lot of things in this house.
But he's not the only one. There's plenty of writers. There's plenty
Yes, you know, this is the island of inspiration, of artists, of painters, of writers. They're spending here throughout the year, time here throughout the year, and they make their work.
Yorgo, I'm starting to feel that inspiration that many writers, artists and poets got from Ύδρα. I can just, it's oozing through my body now.
Yes, this is common knowledge, and a lot of other people who realize how unique this island is.
Yes.
The hillsides are a complete contrast to the harbour. Down below it's buzzing with energy and crowds of people. But a short stroll up the stairs into the urban area, you have peace and quiet. From here you would never know that thousands of people visit Hydra every day. I can see why artists find themselves here. There is a calmness about it that allows you to think. And being surrounded by so much history and stunning scenery, you become inspired to create. There's even a well-known Australian writer, George Johnson, who came here and never left. I have to admit though, all those stairs and having no car would do my head in pretty quickly. However, the scenery is something I would never grow tired of. Because Hydra is only a 90-minute boat ride from Athens, it's a place that many Greeks visit for the weekends. Add into the mix the tourists from further abroad, and you've got a whole lot of people coming and going from a small port. What often ensues is chaos on the water, and it's the job of Bandelis, the harbour master, to create some sort of order from it all. I don't know how he does it. You've got fishermen, yachts, ferries, and water taxis all vying for a berth. And it's not uncommon to see altercations in different languages as arguments erupt in the battle for space in the harbour. It's live theatre, and if you want to enjoy the show, I suggest you come down between 9 and 10 in the morning. Sit down, grab a coffee, and watch it all unfold.
When do you think is the busiest time in Ύδρα, Hydra? When do you
Ύδρα
think?
is always busy.
Always
We
busy.
have a very long season. It starts from the Catholic Easter, which towards the end of March, and goes through the middle of November.
Yes. And are you a Hydriot? Are you from Hydra?
Born in Louisiana, but I grew up in America,
You grew up in America. Where in America did you grow up?
New York.
New York.
New York City.
So you born here?
Yes, yes.
And you grew up in New York.
Yes.
How old were you when you went to New York?
About around 16.
16. And how long were you in New York for?
And 25 years.
25. It says Vietnam vet. Are you a Vietnam
Yeah,
vet?
I served in the United States Army.
Is that right? In Vietnam? Wow. It's good to meet an ex-soldier that served his country. And you served the American...
Twice, in the Greek Navy and the U.S. Army.
in the US Army and the Greek Navy.
The Greek Navy.
Well, I'm proud to meet you, Bandeli. You're a good man, having served twice for 2 different countries.
Yes.
That's very
It
rare.
happens, it happens.
Yeah.
Even though Hydra's port is the most chaotic in all of Greece, Bandelis is like a little general. He knows everyone and somehow manages the madness and keeps it a happy place. He's been here so long, he's practically a permanent fixture. Similar to how there's a small amount of subsistence agriculture happening on the island, there's also a fishery that has existed as long as there's been a settlement here.
This is the commercial hub of Hydra. The donkeys, the ferries, the sailing boats. But we've also got the fishing boats, and the fisherman's just come back with fish, and he's selling it to the locals.
The fishing boats are moored amongst the tourist vessels, and although stocks have declined a lot, they continue to work the surrounding sea, catching fish like small reef dwellers, or these barbunya, or as we know them, red mullet.
Αυτά πόσο πληρώσαμε? 30 euros for 1.5 kilos.
In Athens.
In Athens? In Athens?
40-50.
50 euros in Athens.
Είναι ακριβό το μπαρμπουνάκι το ελληνικό.
Και πώς θα τα μαγειρέψεις?
Τηγάνι αυτό.
On the fry pan, because they're nice, but they're beautiful, eh?
Πολύ ωραίο. Είναι γλυκό.
It's sweet fish, barbouni. This barbouni is the Greek fish, isn't it?
Ναι.
It's the Greek fish.
Και αυτό που λένε οι Έλληνες, όταν έχεις, λέει, στο σπίτι μπαρμπούνι, οι γάτες πεινάνε. Ναι. Ναι, γιατί τα τρώγεται όλο. Όταν έχεις μπαρμπούνι, λέει, οι γάτες πεινάνε.
So what he's saying is, the Greeks say that when you've got a barbouni in the house, the cats starve because we eat the whole fish, the tail, the head, the lot. Awesome, eh?
These cats clearly had high hopes. One day, fellas.
Gets pretty warm in Hydra, in Greece generally. You need a drink of water. You also need a sugar hit every now and then. Here's a shop I've been looking for about an hour. Almond sweets to die for. Πρέπει να τα δοκιμάσω. I've got to try these things. They are well known to be awesome. Everybody talks about them. We just got to cut that open and have a look inside. Have a look at that. That is absolutely smashing. It's called an almond sweet. Almond sweet.
Ναι, τώρα να σου πω τι έχει μέσα.
Τι έχει μέσα? What's got inside?
Αμύγδαλο.
Almonds.
Ζάχαρη.
Sugar.
Ανθόνερο. Rose water.
Rose water.
Flower water, rose water, the same. Και λίγο σεμολίνα.
Σεμολίνα.
Ναι, σιμιγδάλι. Σιμιγδάλι τα λέμε εμείς.
Ναι. Μπορείς να μας πεις τη διεύθυνση?
Όχι διεύθυνση, τη συνταγή.
Τη συνταγή, ναι.
Να σας πω τι έχει.
Ναι.
Από εκεί και πέρα...
He can't tell us the exact ingredients, he won't tell us.
Από εκεί και πέρα θα τα κάνουν μόνοι τους τις αναλογίες.
Ναι.
Είναι περίπου οι ίδιες. Οι αναλογίες είναι ίδιες. Το αμύγδαλο, το ανθόνερο, η ζάχαρη. Εκεί, αν τα βάλουν ακριβώς ίδια θα πει. Αλλά λεπτομέρειες δεν μπορώ να πω άλλες.
Βεβαίως, κατάλαβα.
Από την Αμερική ήρθε ο παππούς, το άνοιξε, ήταν στην Αμερική. Το άνοιξε.
Πήγε Αμερική,
από Ύδρα. Και γύρισε από Ύδρα.
So his grandfather went from Hydra to America, came back, opened the shop in 1930. Kyriakos' father then took it over, and now Kyriakos doing it, and now his bright-looking young son is involved as well. So είναι 4 γενιές.
Ναι.
4 generations.
Ναι.
4 generations.
Τέταρτη γενιά είναι αυτή.
Έχεις παιδιά?
Όχι.
Δεν είσαι παντρεμένος?
Όχι.
Είμαι νέος, είμαι 25 χρονών για αυτό.
So Dimitris 25 and he's a good chef and he makes the best amygdalota in Hydra, possibly Greece. He's single, he's looking for a girl. Κοιτάζει γυναίκα, έτσι?
Εννοείται, πάλι.
If you're on a diet, then skip this place. The sweets are amazing and there are all sorts of different ones to try.
So when you come to Hydra, you got to have the almond sweets. They are absolutely awesome. Unfortunately, I can't have too many of these. These are for my guests, they're not for me. The beautiful thing about Hydra is everything's close. And after a hot day, what better than a swim? And there's this beautiful swimming hole, 200 metres from the port. That's where I'm going now. Cool off. Wow, this is just such a special spot. Look at this. I'm going.
This swimming hole is far from a secret. It's near the mouth of the harbour and about 200 metres away from the statue of the boy and the dolphin, which is a film starring Sophia Loren. It was actually the first Hollywood feature to be filmed in Greece back in 1957. It's a great romance story of a poor sponge diver from Hydra that finds a statue of a boy riding a dolphin on the bottom of the Aegean. I won't get into any more detail because I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's well worth a watch. It's also well worth you making the time to come to this little spot for some fun. It brings out the inner child. Come to think of it, I'm probably older than the combined age of everyone else here. Every morning before most people are awake, the harbour promenade is a hive of activity. All the stuff that's shipped in from outside of Hydra is quickly unloaded and transferred to the restaurants, hotels, shops and taverns before the crowds arrive.
I've been to a lot of ports around the world but I've never been to port like Hydra. What's happening here has been happening for over 400 years, the same way, with the exception of the mechanised stuff over there, and we've got a donkey coming in behind us. All the stores get loaded on these guys. If you want to take your shopping to your house up there, you put it on a docking. If you want to take your bricks, your construction materials, your food, it all goes on these donkeys and it gets taken up the hills, into the houses, into the supermarkets, and it happens every single morning of every single day of the year. These poor little guys and gals, they work hard. I actually feel sorry for them. But that's how they earn their living. It's in the morning, that's what they do. Their pals do something else, and we're going to go and have a look at them soon.
There's a reason that, like an ox, donkeys and mules are known as beasts of burden. Their ability to carry heavy loads make them perfect in a place like this. And as much as it might seem like a hard life, they're treated incredibly well and respected by everyone. It's amazing to see just how much they can cart up and down the narrow streets. Without them, it would all be done by hand. And more than likely, they would need to modernise the town and allow for vehicles, which would be a real shame and likely destroy the age-old character of the island. Apart from moving building materials and the like, they also cart tourists around. And as I said earlier, you haven't been to Hydra if you haven't ridden a donkey, or as it turns out, a mule or a horse.
Yorgos, someone told me that these were donkeys, and I've always thought they were donkeys, but they're not donkeys, are they?
Not donkey. This is the mule, the horse. The horse, the mule, too much strong.
The mule and the horse is stronger than the donkey, and that's why we have mules and...
Donkey no good. Donkey is small.
Okay, and how long have you been doing this for?
Me?
Yeah.
Oof, 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
And how many mules and horses are there on Hydra?
700.
700?
Yes,
700?
Everything. Horse, the mule, the donkey,
Yeah.
everything.
Do they get to rest? Do they get to rest, the mules? Yeah. Πού πάνε το βράδυ, πού τα παίρνεις?
Τα μουλάρια στο στάβλο.
Okay.
Έχει στάβλο.
Δουλεύουνε κάθε μέρα?
Εντάξει, περισσότεροι έχουμε 3-4 και τα αλλάζουμε.
So they do get a rest. You change them over. So they're not working hard. But it's in the sun. It's very hot for them all day here in the sun.
Εντάξει, αντέχουν αυτά.
This is their zone. They are hydric mules. They know what. Yeah, they've been doing this for.
Αντέχουν πολύ αυτά.
Yes, okay.
Αυτά είναι γερά. Αυτά είναι η φύση τους.
Yes,
Αντέχουν αυτά.
yes.
Αν τρώνε, τα προσέχουμε.
Fantastic.
Είναι κτηνίατρος, έχετε κάνει εμβόλια, τα πάντα.
Μπράβο.
Γιατί αυτό είναι το μέσο μας.
Βεβαίως. You've got to look after them.
Με αυτό είναι το...
This is your business. That's right. This is your equity, isn't it? Of course. So you've got to look after them. Well, they're a fine bunch of mules and horses.
Αν τα προσέξεις, δεν θα σε προσέξουν αυτά.
Yes, of course.
These animals are loved and very well looked after. They're constantly rotated so they have a few days off a week. As George said, this is their livelihood and they have to take care of the animals so the animals can take care of them. These guys have been doing the job for generations, making a humble living from a profession that's existed almost as long as the town has. It's a way of life that has a simple charm about it, like being a shepherd or a farmer. There's a lot more to Hydra than just the port area. The mountainous countryside that surrounds the town is also great to explore. The dry rocky slopes provide stunning views of the island, and there's only one way to see them, on horseback. Showing me around was Harriet. You'll soon hear by her accent that she's not a born and bred local. When Harriet was 10, she and her mother moved here from England. Her mother has since moved back. But 18 years on, Harriet has married a local builder and has a small business taking people on horse rides.
So Harriet, how long have you been in Hydra for?
I've been here for 18 years now.
18 years?
Yep.
My God, you look 18 years old. How old were you when you came here?
10.
I shouldn't have asked that question on camera, should I?
No, now you know my age.
Sorry, love, sorry. 18 years in Hydra. You must know it pretty well now. What's special about Hydra?
Well, it's a very unique place. It's very quiet, the best place to come relax. I love the countryside. I love the fact that I'm next to the countryside and next to the sea.
Oh, this way, love, this way.
Okay. Sea.
Chloe, go, Chloe. Chloe, go. Chloe just does not like the camera.
No.
I just don't understand it. You're a good-looking girl. Go. Oh, oops.
Hello.
Ah, she speaks Greek. I should talk to her in Greek.
Hello.
Come on.
Hey.
Hop.
There we go, off we go.
Harriet, how long have you been doing this for?
This is my 4th year as a business, but I've been on horses since I was 2.5 years old.
Is it working for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you enjoying it?
I love it.
Wow.
You know, I've managed to do my passion as a job, so.
If you can make money from what you love, you laugh and love.
Yeah.
Now, Chloe is like a bit like my wife. I think she thinks she's the boss. She probably is right now anyway.
Yeah.
Chloe, let's do it, love. Let's do it, love. It's okay, Mr. Cameraman's cool.
Hey.
You go, I'm going to go past, don't worry.
Hey.
I can handle it.
Hela, hela.
Not going to happen.
Hela,
Not going to happen. I look really bad in front of the world right now.
Hela,
They
hela.
think you're all over me. Can we go?
Hey, hela.
That's it, come on. Ella, I've got to talk to her in Greek.
Pete.
Ella, moromo.
Pull her up
Not
this
going to
way.
happen. Not going to happen.
Hela, hela.
What do I do?
Give her a harder kick.
Go. I don't want to kick her hard.
it.
I don't want to kick her hard. She's
You're
such
not
a
going
nice
to hurt
girl.
my horse. I wouldn't let anyone hurt my horse.
Hut. That's what we do when we dance. Hut, hoppa. That good girl, good girl, good girl. We going up that way?
Yep.
Okay, let's go up this way. Come on.
Going cross country now.
So you married a builder?
Yep.
Good move, that one. Good move, that one. Harriet, you reckon Chloe's worked me out, eh?
Totally. She knows you're a softie, Pete.
Already?
Yeah.
Already? That's not right.
Yeah,
That's not...
my horses test their riders out within the first 5 minutes.
Why didn't you tell me that earlier? I didn't want to hear that, you know. Come on, Chloe, let's go. So, will she change her opinion of me as we go?
I suppose so, if you become a little bit tougher.
Come on. That's it. I'm going to change your opinion of me. Whatever happens, you are going to be my friend and we're going to work together. Go past the cameraman. Come on. Let's show the world that I can change people. Let's go. That is just an absolutely magnificent view.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Worth the ride up here, but I think it's time to give Chloe a bit of a rest. And you know, I'm going to give her a big gift. I'm going to walk down, Chloe, because I just can't do this to you, love. Come over here, come over here. Let's check it out. Let's check it out over here. Come over here. Look at this. Unbelievable. Is this awesome?
Like any good relationship, Chloe and I just need some time to sort through a few things. To be honest, she's not the only unwavering female in my life right now. Since antiquity, Greece has been a maritime nation. Merchants sailed the seas and traded across the Mediterranean into Egypt, Asia Minor and Phoenicia. With this came an exchange in cultures, the sharing of art and technology, as well as the establishment of Greek colonies abroad. It could be said that these early merchants were the beginning of the diaspora that continues today.
I'm walking up to the oldest merchant marine academy in the world, uninterruptedly working since 1749. Now, I've checked the bullshit meter to see if it's true, but there's no reference, so I've just got to rely on that. I'm going in.
Just to clarify, the bullshit meter is Google. It's my go-to for fact-checking, which is probably not the best source. The building has a long and fascinating history, spanning civil war, foreign occupation, and even having been a manor house. In the period prior to the revolution, teachers from Portugal and Italy taught naval theory and foreign languages in the academy. And through the years, countless important figures in Greece's naval history have passed through these halls. It's a living museum that tells the story of Hydra's connection to the sea, while also serving to inspire cadets that may someday become leaders in the Navy or captains of merchant ships.
I don't think I've ever sat in a classroom on my own, especially one with 268 years of continual history. Very special place. A lot of great captains have come out here, through to the Navy as admirals, through to the merchant marines, some becoming great shipping magnates. If only these walls could talk. And you know what? You can come here and visit it.
Students serve a 4-year apprenticeship at the academy, and in that time they learnt everything from navigation to engineering. And for practical experience, they even work on container ships. It's said that since its establishment, some 2,800 captains have graduated from the academy. It's something the locals are extremely proud of, and rightly so.
And next to the academy is this beautiful museum of Hydra. It's just a treasure chest of naval history. And if you like history, this is a place to come. But if you just like guns and knives and all that sort of stuff, this is the place to come as well. No, that's a gun.
On the harbour front there's a statue of Admiral Andreas Miaoulis, who commanded the Greek naval forces during the War of Independence. And in that urn is his heart. It's a little macabre, but it's a different and novel way to remember a great man.
This wall between the first and second floor is pretty significant because you can see the number of captains on this wall that were part of the firebrand fleet in the 1800s that went up against the Ottomans. They're all Hydriot captains.
Military conflicts dot the history of every nation. As bad as they might be, sometimes they're a painful necessity. And museums like this give you an appreciation for not only the tools and machines of war, but also for those that made great sacrifices for our freedom.
Oh, this is Lazaros Koudouriotis. You'll notice the painting because he's got a patch over his right eye. I'm told that he was a little naughty and his wife caught him with another lady and she threw some hot chickpeas at him, hit him in the right eye, burnt his right eye, lost his vision, and I think he lost his wife as a result.
So far, my time in Hydra has been a real eye-opener. There's no denying the charm of the place and the romance created by the simplicity of life here. The architecture and lack of modern trappings take you back in time and give you a sense of what life would have been like a century ago. It's easy to see why so many people visit here and end up never leaving. Next episode, I'm continuing my exploration of Hydra and taking part in the island's biggest celebration, the Miaoulia Festival. It's a week-long event that commemorates Admiral Andreas Miaoulis, who was a leading figure in the War of Independence. It's also a celebration of the Hydriot contribution to the conflict and includes boat races, concerts, cultural exhibitions, and a finale like nothing you'll have ever seen before. It's an annual event that illustrates much of the proud heritage of the island and something I've always wanted to see. But before then, it was time to enjoy another perfect end of the day with a magic sunset over the Aegean. If you ever find yourself here, there are few better ways to bring a day to a close than by having a meal and a drink at the harbour. The changing colours are spectacular, with every shade of yellow and orange, contrasted by the blue of the water. What's more, the food isn't too bad either.